So, Namaste Gautam. Thank you so much for your time as always.
Namaste, Nick. I'm very happy to be back here again with you.
It's really Baba's grace. Continuing from the last podcast, I had mentioned about some symptoms of awakening, and I've just finished working on Anna's book. So, to brief you, Gautam, there
Hmm.
was this great Mahabhakta of Baba called Dr. Annasaheb Gawankar. He was blessed to have met Baba before Baba took Samadhi, and he was a young child of 12 years at the time. And his life story is thrilling because after that, Baba arranged for his meeting with his gurus and everything. Like, for a spiritual aspirant, it's a very inspiring account. And I felt if we can discuss a little bit about his life, some of these symptoms automatically, I mean, he was an embodiment of, pure devotion. So I thought if we could have a discussion on his life, that would be wonderful.
Sure, and this pure devotion, let's see how it unfolds through this conversation because I feel it's becomes quite a rare quality these days.
Absolutely. So I felt this may be a free flowing conversation. And to begin with, uh, Anna was asked to write a book. Baba appeared in his dream and instructed him to write because, see, not only did Anna meet Baba, and Baba gave him a kafni on the first visit. Now, the kafni was symbolic of leading an ascetic life. So, it was a big honor that he received a kafni while he was so little. Thereafter, he spent about 32 years with Shama, which was Baba's one of Baba's closest devotees. So, you see, like in Ayurveda, they say when you spend time with the physician, like the students learning Ayurveda, you learn to pick up the pulse, like by spending time with the masters. Similarly, when a devotee like Anna spent so much time with the close devotees thereafter, he also began to pick up on Baba's teachings, what Baba meant, and he was a very devout aspirant. His faith in Baba was unparalleled. So these are a couple of things I wanted to speak with you about. So coming back to when he was asked to write this book, Shirdi Sai Baba. So after Baba appeared to him in his dream, within I think a few months, he had penned this down, and Vinima highly recommended it. I read the book, and I did feel his teachings, that he would even give in his satsangs and his writings were slightly, uh, I mean, they were for people that were serious. It was not really for beginners. And obviously, he didn't speak about his own life at all. It was all about Baba and the Leelas and the teachings, most importantly, the teachings. And someone who wrote a foreword to the translated English version made a very good point there, which I feel it's quite notable. He said, say when Narsimha Swamiji came to Shirdi and started doing Baba's work and research, he didn't speak Marathi. So he had to rely on a translator. And a lot of the villagers and people at the time, their spiritual qualification was questionable. Like, he was doing more work as a researcher at the time, which is understandable. And this gentleman said that barring the Satcharita, there is no real authentic work on Baba's life and teachings, which I understand. But thereafter, uh, the writings of Dr. Gawankar are very important because he not only met Baba, but he spent 30 plus years with the close devotees and he had that spiritual maturity firsthand, when one reads about his life experiences. So I would say his writings are of deep significance to the serious minded devotee.
And Nick, how many books are there? Or is it just one book you are referring to?
See, Shirdi Sai Baba is the primary book. He also wrote Sheladi, which was another small book. And I believe there is a third. So there are three books that he authored. But the primary one on the teachings is Shirdi Sai Baba. And I believe the second one was Sai Baba himself is a miracle. But unfortunately, those books are not translated into English yet. So we've asked permission, and maybe in time these works will also get published.
So all these three books are in Marathi.
Yes, the first one is translated into English. It's available on the site also. But I did like, I believe GP Sinha was this gentleman's name, and I did see his point that at the that time the need of the hour might have been research, but the spiritual weightage and authority Dr. Gawankar had, which came from his direct personal experiences as well as his time with the devotees. So, his writings have deep significance. And, with this background, I would like to, if we can discuss a little bit about his life and some beautiful experiences that he had. And also his conduct, like in these times, there's a lot we can pick up from his life.
One thing which comes to mind, which I would like to share with everyone, Nick, uh, is this spending time with gurus and with the close devotees of gurus. You see, this is something very important. Um, when you are in the physical presence of a master or those who are living the teachings of the master, who have been close to the master in their lifetime, a process takes place. You could call it transmission, you could call it osmosis. And this is very important because it reminds me of a conversation which I may or may not have shared on this channel before. When someone asked a question to the Sufi mystic Radha Mohan Lal, who was affectionately called Bhai Sahib, one of his Western devotees asked him, Bhai Sahib, is there any difference between your Italian disciple living in Italy versus me who is sitting with you in Kanpur? Do we benefit the same or is there a difference? His reply was, while I give out the same to everyone, the difference is that in a long distance relationship, one has the opportunity to become the perfect disciple, no doubt. But when there's physical proximity, then one has the opportunity to master one's life oneself, to become a master. So this lady said, what do you exactly mean by that? And Bhai Sahib replied, what I mean is that when you are next to an enlightened being, the entire body becomes a transmission tower, you could say. The self permeates each and every cell of the body. And so, just by sitting there, not having to share words, not trying to absorb the teaching intellectually, just being in the mere presence is what does the job. So, now Anna's case is for me very typical of that because you have said how he was so immersed in his master as well as in the closest devotees. 30 years is no joke. Researching the lives of the closest devotees means you're absorbing that same Shakti transmission, whatever you call it, you're close to it. So it is bound to have a very deep impact as far as he was concerned. There's no choice in the matter because you're not relying on your intellect anymore to understand things or figure things out. It is sheer presence. It is surely being present amongst such people which has done the job.
When he was very little, about 12 years of age, he went to Baba and he was taken to Baba, and two words were exchanged. So he didn't even know the meaning. So Baba asked, "Give me dakshina," and Shama was next to him, that is Madhavrao Deshpande. He held his hand and he said, "Say Diya." And Baba said, "Liya." That was all. And then often Baba would slap him on the cheek. And, it was very sweet, when you hear of this time. He was so fortunate. And thereafter, the Kafni Baba, Shama said to Baba that he doesn't know the meaning of this Kafni. Let it be in my care. Later, when he grows up, I will give it to him. And I said, see, the Rinanu Band that he had with Baba, see his past life sadhanas that brought him to Baba's lotus feet. And at such a, see, Baba didn't give the kafni, which was symbolic of becoming an ascetic, to many, and that has nothing to do being a householder or not. But this great privilege was given to very, very few people. So, in the first meeting, to have been given this is something for us also to realize, like, it's a very, very big spiritual honor that Baba gave this to him.
Actually, it's a pointer for others because, if you have someone in your midst who's been given, I mean, imagine if we were there at that time, right? And we saw Baba giving the kafni to this boy of 12. It would be so obvious that this is Prarabdha operating. This boy has, at such a young age, received it. So it is of extreme significance, at least in that time, in that era. If let's say we were there watching this happen, we would pay very close attention to this boy and what his journey is, and being near him, being with him, seeing what he does, how he acts, how he behaves.
And see, all that is there in his writings, in his story, which is why I said it's thrilling, and we have that opportunity now.
That is great that this
So,
book is available.
he also went on to become the trustee of the Sanstha at that time in 1954. And not many people know, but he was chosen to do the Pran Pratishtha of Baba's idol. So that happened through his hands. There is no
Wow.
record of this. He never put his name anywhere or anything. And, talking of living the teachings and that total, like his daughter asked him once, she said, later on, who's going to know? Nobody will believe it. No, they'll say there's no nameplate, nothing. So he said, listen, remember one thing, it is Baba himself who has got this done through me. I have not done this. But I said, see, this is living the teaching. Otherwise, this hue and cry, especially in today's social media age, where I have got this grace of Baba, this manifested, I have this, I have that, I'm
I
special.
know.
But I said, this gentleman, this was his response to the daughter, that it is Baba who has got it done through me. I have not done it.
Not only that, it also shows that he is really not concerned about appreciation and acknowledgement on this plane, because the understanding is that it is already registered in consciousness on the spiritual plane, you could say, where nobody needs to be told anything. So this is actually a sign of total detachment from wanting any kind of recognition, appreciation, which we all strive for. We strive to be appreciated, acknowledged, and all that. So clearly, he was not operating on the mundane level. And of course, Nick, as you know, in this day and age, people donate big sums of money if hospital wards are named after them, or road streets are named after them. And it's quite the opposite, the kind of situation we are in today. Whereas such a person who did not really care that he be remembered as the one who did the pran pratishtha of the idol, I mean, it's a sign of humility. What else?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so funny. Sometimes you have these new age teachers and all who encourage the opposite, where they tell their devotees, if you donate over here, we'll put your name and we'll construct this and that. So it's laughable that, what goes around today. But, these are those gems of Baba, the real jewels, I feel, because, he was an embodiment of humility. And, there was this beautiful, very, very touching incident in his life. In 1954, 18th January, they he and his family received Baba's Sakshatkar Darshan. So a week before, he went to Shirdi and he was praying. He used to actually, like how Ramakrishna Dev would talk to the Divine Mother, he would talk to Baba, like, he would speak his heart out. And he said, "What have I done that, you have left me alone? You go into other people's dreams in their homes, some places footprints appear. Why are you, why have you left this child alone?" And when he went back on the 18th January in the morning, a fakir comes to their home in Bombay, and he thought as much it's Baba, but Baba was in disguise, like he denied it. And they had Baba's Sakshatkar Darshan for one full day. And he was getting glimpses that something is going on. This is not some ordinary fakir. Baba, in that form, started making references to Shirdi, to the him being sent here for. It's a beautiful story. He's actually narrated this in the book. It's one experience that he shared. But the thing I felt of most significance here was he was so particular with his spiritual disciplines that while Baba stayed the night and in the morning, he got up at his 5 a.m. till 8 o'clock. He was sitting in his room doing his meditation and his mantra jap. So his son goes out and he's sitting with Baba, and Baba tells him, "Oh, your father and mother inside are taking my name only." And I said, "This is so beautiful, so beautiful."
Wow.
Later, when Baba left, Baba took the veil off and he said, "Take darshan." And then Baba vanished. I don't know if many people have read this thing, but I would wholeheartedly encourage them to read on the Sakshatkar experience, which is there. And I believe his son in the documentary series, Dr. Sainath ji, also spoke about this experience. So even if they want to watch the video, it's on the channel.
Okay,
But
and this
I said,
experience is mentioned in the book as well.
in the book as well as in the documentary series. But I said this particular thing stood out, and the significance of discipline and his faith in Baba. That while Baba is there, you see, the name of the Lord and the Lord are not separate at all. It's one. And this incident reflects that. He was sitting in the room, Baba is there. He knew what was going on because again and again in between he said, "I know your Baba, I know your Baba." But from 5 to 8, he didn't leave the room and he was immersed. And I felt this is something exceedingly rare and very, very precious.
You see, it reminds me of the Buddha's last words, apparently to his disciples, was, "Please be diligent and continue with your practice." So, I mean, this is the test. You see, that, you know, he has this doubt that this is Baba in my house, but the practice is the practice. That's the sadhana, and there's no compromise on that front.
I mean, he was not aware of it also. It was just like you become a embodiment of that bhakti, right? Like you're
Sure.
so immersed in it that God is sitting next to you and you are, in your bliss of devotion. And I feel that is very, it's the rarest of rare. I mean, this to me is a very, very profound incident, spiritually. I mean, when we talk of, say, Lord Krishna and the Gita and, the Ramayana, and you have those beautiful incidents which, we remember, I do feel this is like one of those that maybe generations to come later, this is a very special one. Like Baba is there, and Baba tells his son, he's sitting inside there, he's taking my name only.
I was just thinking today, if a fakir came to one's house and whatever it is, we would, be listening to him half the time, other half we'll be checking our WhatsApp chats, social media. There are so many distractions today. I mean, we have to be so careful because, these are serious impediments to an honest sadhana. and being available and present to masters and their grace. The mind is very fragmented today. There's so many avenues of distraction. So a story like his becomes very pertinent, that shows that single-minded focus, attention, and not swerving from that. That is so important.
Takes us back to the earlier conversation. No? See that intent of the devotee, making it your priority, having faith in the teaching, and then practicing it.
You see, Nick, one important point comes to mind. You just said it, having faith in the teaching or faith in the teacher or master. I have noticed that, today, at least in the earlier days, in the olden days, a guru's word was to be taken as the advice to follow, right? That's why you would go to a guru. Today, what it is, it's an option, like those, you have those exam questions and you have tick up answer A, B, C, D. I have had people who come to my talks and they have gurus, and then they say they were in a situation and they asked the guru for advice and the guru said X, but they went and did Y. So the thing is that we have lost sight of this reverence for the teaching, the teacher. Can you imagine if someone went to Sai Baba and asked his advice on something and Baba gave advice and the person went and did something else?
See, there were many such examples. There were quite a few. But you see, then they didn't qualify as the Mahabhaktas.
Exactly. That's
And
what I'm
so,
pointing to.
so the seekers, the disciples, I guess everyone's where they are. But there's that saying, right? You will attract how you are, like you'll be eligible for grace.
Sure.
See, there is no doubt he came to Baba because of his sincerity in past lives, the sadhanas he did, right? To come to Baba at that young age where he didn't even know anything and he was given the kafni straight. And secondly, to have Baba's Sakshatkar also is a very, very big deal, right?
Very. Right. Yes.
And you see, also, this is another beautiful thing. Uh, 4 years before he went to Baba for the first time, when that means when he was 8 years of bodily age, a master called Bhau Sahib Maharaj from Mumbai, who was a great devotee of Lord Ganesha, went to Shirdi. He was a master. He came to Baba, offered dakshina, and Baba at that time told him, मैं तेरे पास एक छोकरा भेजेगा, उसको तू तैयार करना. Later, he went to Baba, and after Baba took Samadhi, Baba appeared in his dream and told him, I am myself in Mumbai over there, you come to me. Because he was seeking Baba and a Guru. And then he wandered in that part of Bombay, where so he thought, is there a Baba temple? Then someone told him, no, there's this one saintly person over here, we'll go take his darshan. So he went there, and the minute he entered the room, he knew he has met his master, and the master told him, Tera Sai Baba idhar hi hai. So you see how Baba arranged his spiritual welfare even before he met the child. So you see, this also reflects on the Rinanubandh and the responsibility. Like even my guru would say, your spiritual welfare, by yours means the devotee's spiritual welfare, is the guru's responsibility.
Yes, I mean, from what all you have shared on this podcast, Nick, this book is a must read. So, is it available on your
It
website?
is. It is there on the site, and Vinima would highly recommend it.
Wow.
So we've the video series also on his life and their family experiences is on the channel. So I would definitely encourage devotees to watch that series, which is done with his son, Dr. Sainath Gawankar, who's a very humble man. And also, if possible, get the book. It's definitely a must read. And hopefully, within the next month or two, even Sai Baba and Anna, the biography of his life, should get published soon. Because what I realized is, while his teachings and his his writings on Baba are in that book. He's not spoken of his life at all, but I felt that is also a story that has to be told.
Yes, of course, it must be told. Amazing, amazing that all this is available, and most of us don't know about the existence of such material.
I also realized that introduction that gentleman had written, he raised a very important point because he said, see, while the history and the research was done very nicely by, say, Narasimha Swamiji, but he didn't speak Marathi and his role was to collect information. So, he was basically compiling information based on, say, someone who was helping him translate. But Dr. Gawankar, after Hemar Pant, is the only one who's actually spent so much time, and also when you see his spiritual experiences, he had that weightage. And plus, see, this book was commanded by Baba, he didn't want to write it.
Sure.
So, it was done by Baba's will.
Oh, it is a must read. Must
It
read. This
is,
is
it
very
is.
important, Nick. I mean, thank you
Hmm.
for sharing this with me and then with all of us here. I think it's
It's all Baba's will.
absolutely Baba wants us to look at this book.
Absolutely. No, no, I can't praise it enough. And one more beautiful experience of his life, which I think is a very important marker on his faith, is he had a dream of Morya Gosavi, who was this great devotee of Lord Ganesha. And in the dream, he was told, your prasad is kept here, come and collect it. And he was a doctor by profession, so he immediately followed what he was asked to do. And when he was leaving for Chinchwad, the compounder comes to his clinic and he says, at home, your son has taken seriously ill. So your wife has asked that please come and attend to him. So he said to himself, he said, no, while this command has come from God to do this, God himself will take care of his well being, and he continued with his journey. So I said, see, this level of faith to obey the Guru's command without question. See, Kaka Dikshit was such an example, when that command comes to obey it without questioning. He was an embodiment of that.
And Nick, just because you mentioned Morya Gosavi, if I could share with everyone here that if they have not been to Morya Gosavi's Samadhi at Chinchwad, I would highly recommend a visit. I go there every time I visit Pune. It's on the way into Pune. And they can read up on Morya Gosavi and his extremely unique life story and relationship with Lord Ganpati. And Morya Gosavi lived till the age of 185 and has had spectacular experiences with Ganpati, and Ganpati incarnated in his family for 8 generations. Whenever I go there and I get out of the car and set foot in the courtyard, I feel a deep peace. A deep peace, and when I go and sit in front of the Samadhi, I can actually, when I close my eyes, see a color which is bluish grey, which the mother of Pondicherry refers to as the color of deep peace. So, since you brought up this most auspicious name, I thought I'll just share with the audience that if they happen to be in Pune or if they'd like to make a trip there specifically for this, they would not be disappointed.
Nahi, it's such grace that we are able to speak about him. It's only by divine grace, and certainly, if one can go there, one must. And it's very nice to hear your experience, Gautam, of this.
It's really spectacular. I truly feel. I mean, of course, I have a soft spot for Ganpati. He's one of my
Mm.
favorites. But in India, he's also the favorite of a large number of people. So anyone with a connection to Ganpati, I think, would sense this at Morya Gosavi's Samadhi.
And soon, Gautam, by Baba's grace, the print and the ebook of Anna's life also should be out. We'll make an announcement when that is done.
Yes.
And maybe in the subsequent podcast, if we can speak on patience, there was a satsang I was having with a devotee and a friend, and there was this line that came up in context to something else, like in implementing patience in daily living, where I said in Hindi, sabar se khabar milega.
Hmm.
And it was quite sweet because when we have patience,
Yeah.
everything is revealed. It's like when the water stills, the
Ah,
waves or the ripples also settle down. So I said this sabar se khabar. So I thought maybe in the subsequent podcast, maybe we can do one in Hindi.
this is a
And
very important point. I'd love to speak about it and share my thoughts on this, Nick.
yeah, and with this, I felt if we can speak more in context, not only with daily living, but also its real world implications in worldly life of patience. Spiritual, of course, but even with worldly examples, how, precious this pointer is.
Sure. It would be my
So,
privilege.
thank you. Thank you, Gautam, as always, for your time.
I enjoyed today's conversation.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you very much, Gautam.
Om Sai Ram.
Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram. Namaste.
Namaste.